Coming up on show 819, the brand new Vauxhall/Opel Mokka-e is revealed, and they've done a great job with it. We'll give you the details. Plus, on the show today, we're talking about how far a Hyundai Kona will go in the latest 70-mile-an-hour range test and why more Konas are coming to the UK than ever before. What is Project Roadrunner with Tesla? How quickly will the new plug-ins from Range Rover charge? And some electric boats. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for what happened on Wednesday, 24th of June. My name is Martyn Lee, going through every EV story so you don't have to. Once again, recording out in the garage at the bottom of the garden where my studio is built, and it is baking today. We're having a heat wave in the UK, sort of 26, 27 degrees, but what with this having a flat roof and it just being just a sun trap, it's like 20, at the minute, 29.3 degrees in here. I'm absolutely sweltering, and if you're not listening in the UK and you want it in old money, let me ask Alexa. What's 29 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
29 degrees Celsius is 84.2 degrees Fahrenheit.
84.2 degrees. Okay, I'm sure there's people listening in hot parts of the world going, that's not hot. Trust us, that's not hot. For us, this is boiling. It's enough to want me to put air conditioning into every room, but of course, powered by solar. Let's talk the first story today. Let's talk about Tesla's Autopilot, automatic green light response. They've been explaining how it's going to work because they've added, of course, traffic light recognition to Autopilot with Tesla, and this is something that I think will be coming to more cars at some point as well. But Tesla's full self-driving suite is definitely not feature complete, and it won't be until it can manage stop signs and traffic light controls as well. Well, the updated manual for traffic light control has been found by the regular Tesla hacker Green the Only. I think it's a he. I normally end up saying they because I'm never quite sure, but I think in the past he's referred to himself as a he. Green the Only on Twitter has found these notes, and the manual says in terms of how Teslas will recognise stop and go lights in the US only. If the Model 3 or the Model Y is approaching a green light and detects that a vehicle in front of you is continuing through the intersection, Model 3Y will continue through the intersection without requiring your confirmation, provided you are not in a turning lane and your hands are detected on the steering wheel. It also says in the US, if you are following a car in front of you that continues through the intersection, a green stop line displays on the touch screen, and provided your hands are detected on the wheel, Model 3Y also continues. If a car is not in front of you, a red stop line displays on the touchscreen, and you must confirm that you want to continue through the intersection, and you do this by pressing down on the drive stalk or briefly pressing the accelerator pedal. If you don't confirm, Model 3 will come to a stop, even if the light is green. So this isn't quite the same as the first iteration of this, which is that it was stopping at every single set of traffic lights until you intervened and said, yes, fine, go. The light is green. So it's kind of a halfway house, but that's how it's going to work. But looking at the Tesla manual, which I was spending probably too long today reading for you, my goodness me, it's obviously a legal document as well, and they litter this with warnings. Warning, says Tesla, never make assumptions and predict where and when traffic light and stop sign controls will stop or continue through intersections. From a driver's perspective, the behaviour of traffic light and stop sign control may appear inconsistent. Warning! Traffic light and stop sign control will not turn Model 3Y through an intersection. Warning! If the touchscreen is not displaying a red stop line at an upcoming intersection, Model 3Y does not slow down or stop. Warning! Never depend on the system to determine whether to stop at or proceed through an intersection. Warning! In some situations, the system may inaccurately detect stop lights and traffic lights. Warning! You must press down on the drive stalk or briefly press the accelerator pedal to confirm that you want to proceed through the intersection, regardless of the status of the traffic light. Also found in the manual, warning! Never assume that your ability to see a traffic light, stop sign or road marking or an intersection, which a traffic light or sign is partially obstructed, means the Model 3Y can identify it. Warning! Even the most recent map data does not include all traffic lights. Warning! The system is not substitute for attentive driving and sound judgment. Warning! Approach attentively and be prepared to press the brake pedal to slow down or stop. Warning! Model 3Y may not stop at a T-junction that does not have a stop sign or stop line. And it continues and continues. I've got more, by the way, but I think you're bored of me shouting warning at you. This is clearly very, very, very good technology. It can see traffic lights, it can detect stop signs, but it's still very, very far away from being what the hype. You know those that think full self-driving is 5 minutes away. Those that are like, it's going to be amazing. We're going to be sleeping in our car and doing all the We are so far away from full self-driving, apart from in some situations where it's predictable and on highways. It just goes on and on and on, all the situations that Tesla basically saying, hey, look, we are not responsible for this if it goes wrong. All right, let's get to the headline story today. The Vauxhall Mokka-e. Vauxhall Opel Mokka. I was changing pages then and my brain didn't match my mouth. Vauxhall Opel Mokka-e has been revealed. So this is going to sit in the kind of same market as the Ford Puma, you would have to say. After being bought out by PSA from General Motors, Vauxhall Opel is now getting a lot more love, I think it's fair to say. The parent company of Peugeot and Citroën have got the brand now, and they seem to be really doing It's taken a while, been making years of promises, but now it seems to be coming through that they're making some really interesting cars. Now, the Mokka-e, of course, it's all electric, is derived from the platform that PSA are putting, and the powertrain that they're putting a lot of their cars on. We've talked on this podcast recently about the Peugeot E208, the E2008, the DS, the DS3 Crossback E-Tense, the Vauxhall /Opel Corsa E. And while the Corsa was a bit of a halfway house because it wasn't ready to be redesigned, it was halfway through its life cycle and stuff, it is, all of those cars, I think, deserve very much consideration if you want that size of car. Now, the Mokka, which is, okay, I'll admit, it's a terrible name, has got some really interesting styling. It's not going to be for everybody. Very small, kind of straight line headlights, kind of like slitty headlights, kind of almost a bit Cybertrucky in places. Lots of plastic around the wheel arches and like the kind of the skid plates and stuff, make it look like it's meant for more off-roading than it really is. Lots of kind of faux 4x4 kind of touches. It looks like an off-roader, but it's most definitely not. The inside, though, a complete redesign of their language on the inside of this. And again, I've got to be honest, I've never really had a Vauxhall, and you call it an Opel, maybe where you're listening. I've never had these cars really on my shopping list, and you see loads of them around. Obviously sell tons of these cars, but they're probably sold mostly for people that don't want to be mean, don't really care about what car they're driving, but maybe they bought it on price or value or those kind of things. But actually the interior styling of this is nice. Really big screens. They've gone for landscape layout, but two big screens. Couple of buttons inside. I can see one button inside there's the stop start of the motor, a couple of buttons for like volume, so like hard knobs, which I like. I like a halfway house between, let's get rid of a lot of the buttons and stuff in cars, but I know I do like the odd thing you can just reach down and grab, and there's the air conditioning, the climate control has got a couple of knobs and dials and buttons, but otherwise it's all on the touch screen. And I think the French have done just a really, really good job, if it is indeed some of that influence coming from PSA or whoever has been responsible for designing it in the massive 12-inch screens. They look really good. Like I say, on the CMP platform, the cars that I've mentioned already, they're getting a 136 brake horsepower single electric motor. The battery pack is a really interesting compromise size. It's 50 kilowatt hours, and that's going to give you 200 miles of range. Near as damn it, whether you load the car up with luxury and tech and make it heavier, and then it's going to do a little less, or whether it's a cheaper car. But either way, all of these cars that I've mentioned, and some of the vans that are coming from that group as well, are 50 kilowatt hours. So look, 201 miles on the WLTP test cycle. That is about right for so many people. I know that it's nice to have 800 miles of range and it all charges at a zillion kilowatts, but you know what? Weight versus price, it's going to be in there with the conversations that you are looking at the Honda E, the Mini Electric, Mazda, the MX-30, right? All of those cars get a good shout at a conversation, but the Mokka-e, it's going to be... It's not. They got it in two-tone in the pictures that they've released, with a black bonnet, black roof, and then bright green all around the sides. And that wouldn't be my colour scheme, but it looks really, really good. The tech is good. The design is what's going to be most interesting. If you look at the pictures that I'll pop in the show notes from Evo magazine, you know what? I think this could be another strong contender. But a car that has been on the market for a while now is the Hyundai Kona. Let's talk about that. My good buddy Tom Mologney, who has been driving EVs just forever, owned so many of them, many more than I'll probably ever own in my life. He's a complete EV advocate and just knows so much about these things. He is so good at digging through data. So he does range tests, but he's taken the Hyundai Kona and he's done a 70 mile an hour constant range test. Now, we did talk about this a couple of weeks ago because another one of my friends, Kyle Connor, did this in North Carolina, but it was actually a lot cooler in North Carolina. So what did Tom get on the New Jersey Turnpike? Well, let's find out. So he did the 64 kilowatt hour version of the Kona, which, as a reminder, is the usable capacity when we say 64. EPA rated range of 258. He drove the Kona 245 miles. And it had 1% left. Now, he likes to drive his cars down to zero, but we'll let him off and let him have the 1%. He pulled off the New Jersey Turnpike and plugged in on an Electrify America DC fast charger. And so he was down to 1%. When Kyle did it a couple of weeks ago, he got to zero and, in fact, had to push it. I think it was, maybe it was the Mini he had to push. But anyway, they've basically gone down to the same. Therefore, what did Tom do in his Kona? At 70 miles an hour constant... he said 247 miles. That's only 11 miles short of the official EPA range. But remember, constant 70 miles an hour. And he did an average of 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour. He owns a Model 3, and he did the same test on a Model 3 a couple of weeks ago, similar weather. And that was 4.25 miles per kilowatt hour. And so... apart from that, and obviously I think he's going to do the same thing with the Hyundai Ioniq next week. That's going to be crazy efficient. We know that. But yeah, the 70 mile an hour test was really good for the Kona to get that 248 miles of range. Really, really good. 247 miles of range. Apologies. So, again, the temperature for him was 70 degrees. Let's convert it. Alexa, what's 70 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius?
70 degrees Fahrenheit is 21.1 degrees Celsius.
Nice. Okay, so 21 degrees. That's my perfect temperature. If I could have the weather at 21 all year round, it'd be so nice. However, today, 27, 28, it's too hot. Current temperature check, 29.8 in this studio. I'll stop going on about it. You don't care. So that's good, right? So 21 degrees C, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Nice temperature. Made a big difference, actually, from when Carl did it in California. But hey, if you're going to get a Kona, or you would say the e-Niro, based on very similar technology, although the batteries are different in the Niro. People forget because they're both 64 kilowatt hour. But the batteries, the cells, the chemistry is different to the Kona, to the e-Niro. But either way, that's really, really good. I mean, how much more range do you really need before you want to stop and charge anyway? I'll pop a link in the show notes to Tom's test. Let's talk about the supply of EVs in the UK. Hyundai put a press release out to say it's getting a lot better. We know when they first put the Kona on sale. Of course, I did day zero configurator. I went online with like, I could put an order down. You never know. And then I was half serious and chose my colour. It was at least 12 months to get one in this country, which is ridiculous. Now, no car company really wanted to sell you an EV before the 1st of January this year because of emissions regulations and fines involved with not selling enough EVs. It's sort of, I've kind of butchered that. It's all to do with how many petrol cars and diesel cars you sell versus EVs. But either way, to avoid those really big fines by the European Union, the car companies didn't really want to sell you an EV last year. So they were all supply constrained for one reason or another. They blamed getting hold of batteries, but there we go. But let's talk about Hyundai's case. They say today In response to significant customer demand, Hyundai in the UK announced in January this year that Kona, the waiting time would be significantly reduced following a ramp-up in production of its sought-after fully electric model through the introduction of manufacturing at its European Czech-based plant, and by increasing existing availability from their facility in South Korea. Supply has now made its way to the UK market, along with the recently refurbished, the new version of the Ioniq plug-in electric and full electric. So they've got the Kona and the Tour Ioniqs. By the end of this year, there's a full electric, there's a plug-in hybrid Santa Fe, not a full electric, there's a plug-in hybrid Santa Fe coming. Ashley Andrew. Words today, brain and mouth not connected. Ashley Andrew, Hyundai Motor UK MD, said, and I quote, "Ever since we began offering our pioneering EVs in the UK, we've been overwhelmed by demand for them. This year we can deliver more EVs to our customers than ever, thanks to a much improved supply that not only delivers our customers the cars, but also helps in our goal of becoming one of the largest suppliers of EVs in the UK," end quote. Great news there. What they didn't actually say was the current waiting time, and I can't establish that, but it's fantastic news either way that it's gone from a year down to weeks. Good news. You can use Click to Buy, I think, because when they first put it on sale, you could only use Click to Buy, and there was only, I think, so they say, 2 people working on that platform, so they had all of these purchases coming in on their online platform that 2 people essentially were working on full time. You can use Click to Buy, you can place your order, you can even contact your local dealer if you want to discuss your requirements, and if you want to use Click to Buy, there's a great selection of available stock right now, and you can get a trade-in price for your old one, and again, it'll put you in touch with local dealers, or if you want, you can use that and have your car and be driving it very, very soon. Fantastic news, at least for my UK listeners. Now, Norway. Some good news coming out of Norway may well achieve its emissions goals this year. 8 years ago, the Norwegian government, says Clean Technica, established carbon reduction goals, but Norway's never achieved any of their annual targets until now. Preliminary data suggests this year that the country may indeed meet its goal of limiting CO2 emissions from all sources to 48.6 billion tonnes. The target established in 2012 for what they would get to in 2020. I mean, 48.6 billion tonnes of anything is a huge amount, but when it's CO2 that one small green country is pumping into the atmosphere, it just puts it into perspective. We've just got to make so many changes if we're going to hand any kind of planet on to the next generation or two. Total carbon emissions in Norway have been going down every year for the last 3 years, but what about EVs? Well, battery electric and plug-in cars are 2/3 of all new car sales. Full electrics are 1/2 of all new car sales. But that's always, big caveat, new car sales. Gas and diesel-powered cars make up the vast majority of cars on the road. The Norwegian Electric Car Association do an amazing job of educating people and keeping people up to date with the stats, sales of combustion cars down through the last 10 years, but the last couple of years particular. But so much more work needs to be done to get the old fleet off the road and more new cars on the road. And of course, Norway doing a lot of things with things like electric ferries, like the fjords. We took a holiday to Norway last year, I think, maybe the year before. The Norwegian fjords are just some of the most beautiful places we've ever visited on Earth, and we were travelling up them on diesel ships. It just blew my mind. I mean, you could just see the plume of smoke coming out of the ships. We had to use the ferries and we had to use the boats, and electric ferries, electric boats in those fjords are going to make such a difference to the air quality as well. I'll pop a link to Clean Technica in the show notes, but yay, go Norway. Let's talk about Tesla's Project Roadrunner. This is their cell production line, a pilot line for production of battery cells at their Fremont facility. Now, the Twitter user JPR007 found some planning documents and the project approval documents which do spell out what they want to do. Tesla has been occupying a building on somewhere called Cato Road, and they've been installing some small-scale battery manufacturing facilities, and what they want to do is to accommodate the new battery manufacturing equipment, some R&D space as well. This is Project Roadrunner. They want some more floor space. They had to put some planning permission in to get this, and to add a third floor onto the building. The improvements will increase the total floor space, which means they'll be able to do more of this battery cell R&D work there. What it means is that when it's completed, Tesla said that they will move in to this building on Cato Road. They will move in all new equipment that supports expanded battery manufacturing and R&D operations. Now, that says battery manufacturing, not cell production, but this Project Roadrunner is definitely, we know, this is definitely their move to battery cell production, and how they scale that up and how they do that R&D in an environment which, when they're ready with the lines, they can then scale that up to a bigger factory. They've got about 100 people working on it on a 2-shift system per day, and obviously we now know that Battery Day is going to be in September, when we find out more about their plans to make their own cells. Let's talk about Range Rover for a bit. I was talking to someone recently about some plug-in hybrids that are coming that can charge really fast, and they asked me what they were, and I'd totally forgotten. So in researching this, to remind myself, I thought I'd remind you, just in case, or maybe you'd never heard this story, but the new, the Range Rover Evoque, the Evoque and Discovery Sport, they are pretty popular SUVs. They're now available as plug-in hybrids. The range on those cars is 66 kilometres, which is about 40-odd miles, isn't it? They use a 1.5 litre petrol engine, and they have a pretty reasonable 15 kilowatt-hour usable battery, which is really good. But here's the thing, that this was the one that I was thinking of that had escaped my mind. They are a plug-in hybrid that do DC fast charging. So they have DC fast charging. They have the CCS combo plug on the side at 32 kilowatt speed. Now, I know it's not the fastest, but compared to some plug-in hybrids that charge at 3 or 6 kilowatts, this is fantastic. So, of course, you can still plug it into a 7 kilowatt home wall box if you have, but if you want to use the fast chargers that you find on the side of motorways, admittedly, it won't take the full speed, but it'll take 32, and that is a huge improvement for a plug-in hybrid. Please, 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 can we have all plug-in hybrids doing this? When we get away from these manky old 48-volt mild hybrid SUVs that we see flying around, and cars and stuff, and at least we get cars with plug sockets on the side of them, please, 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 can we have fast charging at these kind of speeds on a plug-in hybrid? Because then you don't mind. Because if you turn up to a motorway service station and, you know, unfortunately, there's not too many chargers around, but if a plug-in hybrid's on it, they can be on it for an hour and just be sitting there. And actually, at 32 kilowatts, you get to 80%. You can charge your battery in well, it'd probably be a few minutes, wouldn't it? Be up to half an hour that you'd be plugged in. So it's still not great, sort of blocking chargers with plug-in hybrids when there's more full electrics around. But there is as allowed to use them as anybody else. Don't get me wrong, it's not a two-tier system here. It's just so good that they won't be blocking a fast charger and charging at a very, very slow speed. They put an 80 kilowatt electric motor on the rear, and of course they can do some funky four-wheel drive stuff with that, and helps reduce the emissions. But for most people, they'll be, if you're doing 38, 41 miles of electric range, you'll be doing most of your driving on pure electric. Right, finishing off with a couple of stories about electric ships. First one is a German company, Alva Yachts, an electric boat builder launching their first electric watercraft, the debut catamaran. They're launching. These things are really, really big. It's a German company founded at the beginning of the year. The Ocean Eco 60 and the Ocean Eco 90. They have solar panels on them, a 40 kilowatt solar array by the look of it, covering the whole boat. There's a 300 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, and you can travel 110 nautical miles at 7 knots, and they say potentially unlimited at 4 to 5 knots if you're in sunny conditions. These catamarans do look just stunning and gorgeous and big and sexy boat kind of thing, not like a little rowing boat. It's great. I don't know if they're making them yet. They're a new company, but how about that? A 60-footer, a 90-footer. Wowzers. And finally, Danfoss Editron is powering the UK's first hybrid crew transfer vessels. And this is a way of using electric powertrains in marine environments where it's in a hybrid. situation. So this isn't full electric, but they use hybrid systems with propulsion motors. They use DC-DC converters, so you have got some battery power in there as well. You've still got your diesel-powered ones, engines there, but it just allows you to reduce the emissions. And with marine, I think we're going to see some hybrid technology that is really interested as well. It's going to be operated by Ørsted, and it's going to be serving offshore wind farms. 55 miles off the Yorkshire coast in the North Sea. This ship will enter operations in 2022, and a hybrid crew transfer ship to go out to a wind farm. It'd be nice if it was full electric, but it's a nice start. Well, thank you for listening to the show today. Question of the week, I'm asking you, how would you like to see green number plates or green stickers used to incentivise EVs? What do you reckon? What incentive should we give to electric cars with green number plates or green stickers? Let me know. You can email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on the YouTube show. Well, there are 231 patrons of the podcast that keep me going. The premium partners are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for Clean Tech Talent, Porsche of the Village, Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, and now new at nationalcarcharging.com and their Hawaiian sister company, alohacharge.com. A little comment on the YouTube show really helps on YouTube. I comment and we can interact on there, or even on Apple Podcasts, and we can have a little chat if you want to, or just leave a comment saying what you think of the podcast. It does help me grow the show, but no worries if you haven't got time to do that. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. Oh, and remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.